Hello, everyone. I'm Annie Gibbins, and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success, and what they have learnt along the way. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today, I have the delight of introducing to you Karen O'Connor, and we are going to be talking about all things menopause and why it's something to be celebrated and not feared or dreaded. After raising 4 children, Karen found herself smack bang in the middle of menopause with zero idea of what to do with her life. So depressed, lonely, and majorly hormonal, she was shamefully convinced that she was the only person who felt this way, as everyone else seemed to have their act together. And so she began talking to people. She realized that most people going through midlife experience a similar sort of thing. And so Karen quickly realized that everyone has an amazing story to share. So she began a podcast. So she's a fellow podcaster like me, and she loves sharing stories with different people around the world, how they travel through menopause and what their experience have been. So welcome to the program, Karen.
It's such a pleasure to be on, Annie. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I'm really keen to hear about your journey. So how does a woman at your stage of life, you've raised your 4 kiddies and you've had this traumatic experience of menopause, and I must admit I'm just going into that phase now and it is pretty weird. How do you become a passionate ambassador? How do you end up having a podcast about menopause?
What happened, I had a major operation. So about 10 years ago, I don't know whether you've heard about pelvic mesh and the problems that women have had with pelvic mesh. I was one of those women. So I had the pelvic mesh put in and it immediately went wrong, mainly because the gynecologist had put it in wrong. And I started having all sorts of problems. So they did one operation to try and remove it. That didn't work. And I had another operation. After I'd had this second operation, I was told that it was bed rest for 3 weeks. I couldn't lift anything or do more than walk to the kitchen or anything for 3 months. And then only exercise I could do for 12 months was walking, like slow paced walking. Now, for somebody who's been used to doing an awful lot, running around with 4 kids and being fit all her life, that was a real challenge. What I didn't really realize was mixed in with that perimenopause. And so nobody told me that not exercising when you're used to doing it is actually going to impact you psychologically. I didn't know that. So that was the first whammy. So as I got towards the end of the year, I went to my doctor, my female doctor, and I said to her, look, I feel really weird. I'm really depressed. I'm not sleeping. I've got these weird rashes all over the place. And she said to me, oh, look, it's probably menopause. Here's some antidepressants. Here's a few sleeping tablets. Just go away and come back if you've got any more problems. And if you want a referral to a psychologist, I'll give you one.
Oh my
that was it.
Gosh, that's what you got from a female doctor.
Yep, that was what I got. I started off feeling like there was something wrong with me, like this wasn't normal. She didn't tie it into the lack of exercise or the operation or anything. She didn't really do anything other than identify the fact that I might be perimenopausal, but she didn't offer me any symptoms, anything to do about it. She didn't offer me anything. She just said, oh, yeah, you're probably perimenopausal. Here's some drugs, off you go. She didn't say, go and join this group, go and read up about it. She didn't give me anything. My husband was great. He went out. I must have every book ever written on sleep studies and how to sleep well. He bought me so many books about how the female brain works and menopause and everything. Like, he was amazing, poor guy. And I was, honest to God, left feeling like I was the only one that this was happening to, because otherwise, why wouldn't the doctor have given me more support. And so this went on for a few years, and I did several things. One of them was I moved across the country because, you know, if you're going to move house, let's do it in style. So I uprooted everybody, moved across back to Sydney. We first moved to Sydney when we first came over here in 91, and I hated the place. Sorry to everybody who lives in Sydney, it's not for me. Yeah, I know you, right? And so I was there for about just over 12 months, and I went, no, I can't hack this. So we moved then to a country town in Armidale, and because one of my daughters was at school there, she was boarding there. And that started me back on the path to, you know, picking myself up. And I got a really great network of friends there really quickly. And so I began to kind of pick myself up. And then I got myself a personal mentor, and she and another friend suggested that I start journaling, which I did. And then I met some other women, and it was like we were all going through the same thing. And we all thought we're all the same age, like 4 of us within a few months of each other met. And we're all like, oh, yeah, you know, kind of broaching the subject tentatively of, you know, I'm a bit depressed and I'm a bit confused. And they were, oh, so
that's me.
We started writing about it, all of us individually. And it turns out like a large proportion of women feel the same. And then we realized it's because nobody's talking about it.
Exactly.
Because our society has gone so individualistic, so nuclear family, we haven't got that older generation of women that we're seeing on a regular basis, you know, in terms of like on a daily basis, who can guide us through it and say, oh, you know, this is what's going on. This is what I did. Oh, your Auntie Jones, she suffered from the same thing. Oh, your Auntie Irene, she used to pass out when she was going through perimenopause. We haven't got any of that. And that's missing, you know, just to know that this is whatever you're going through. I'm going to get on my soapbox here, right? Sorry, Annie.
All right, this is your time.
There is 30-something distinct symptoms of menopause. And a lot of them have got like sub-symptoms. So rashes. The rashes can appear. For me, I thought I was suddenly becoming allergic to bras and knickers, because I had these rashes that went like all around my body, under my boobs. And then they started on my midriff as well. And I thought, have I got a
rash? Is it a sweat rash, or is it actually just a hormonal rash?
It's a hormonal rash. And all you can do for it is, because the thing is, I was waking up in the morning and there'd be blood all over the sheets because I'd scratched myself so much during that, and up the back of my head as well. So I, like, going to the hairdressers and everything, would start it off, and I looked like I had a head lice half my life. And another friend said the same thing. She was convinced for about 8 months that she had head lice, and she was becoming completely neurotic about it. One of her kids or her husband would walk in, she got check mice.
And it's my hair. Well, at least they didn't think she was an ice addict.
Yeah, I know, right? So it's weird things like that we need to share, and we need to talk about it, and we need to know that it's okay. That's just it's honest to God, like puberty on speed.
Yeah.
That's what it's
so
like.
Let's unpack that a little bit for the listeners who haven't got to this stage, or actually unpacked what's happening with their bodies at the moment. Because I know I'm in peri. So even when using that word, what is perimenopause compared to someone talking about menopause? What actually, you know, let's take people on a bit of a journey to give them that awareness.
Okay, so perimenopause is the point leading up to menopause. Now, menopause is actually only a single point in time. It's the point where you've gone for 2 years without menstruating. Right. That's actually menopause. So technically, you're either perimenopausal or postmenopausal. You're not menopausal, because it's only like a literal instant in time. Okay. So perimenopause is kind of like, you know, when you're going through puberty, it can hit you anywhere from 9 to 16 or older, and you've got the hormones, and then they go on into your 20s, and, you know, that's what perimenopause is. It's the other end of that. So it's your body stops producing, I'm going to get this completely wrong, estrogen, progesterone, whatever your body stops producing. it sends your body into a bit of a tailspin because it doesn't know how to deal with the lack of this hormone. Just as when you're a teenager, your body starts producing this hormone and your brain doesn't know how to deal with it and you go all weird and obnoxious for a few years. Perimenopause is the same because your body's stopping producing those hormones. Now, one of the things that your body does to try to make up for the fact that your body's not producing the hormones, your adrenal glands go into overdrive. Right. So unless you're aware of it, you're constantly on high adrenaline, fight or flight. Oh, I can't sleep. Oh, I'm really stressed. Oh, I'm really anxious. So it just exacerbates everything. And then, like I say, menopause is 2 years after your last period, but that doesn't mean that's the point where the symptoms stop. So one of my friends is an osteopath, and she was saying she treats a lady in her 80s and she still gets hot flashes 30 years after she went through menopause, or 30 years after she started them. She still gets hot flashes. So for me, the hot flashes honestly felt like an adrenaline rush. It was like I could feel it like going through me. For other women, it's different. Everybody has a slightly different experience. For me, it was like, you know, that point where somebody jumps out on the road in front of you when you're driving and you get that cold sweat, then hot sweat. That's what it's like for me. It's not like that for everybody else. And just the mere fact of finding out that, oh, it's an adrenaline rush. Okay, so I can go and get some herbal supplements that help with stress and anxiety and help with adrenal overloads. Great, you know, then I can do something about it. Oh, the rashes, they're normal. Okay, so I need to take antihistamines for a while and I've got to find an antihistamine that works for me. Or, you know, just make sure you don't scratch. There's nothing wrong with you. You know, you haven't got shingles or measles or some weird disease. It's just your hormones. The mood swings, because you can get, like, and I'm saying these are all things you can get. I know people who've had basically no symptoms at all.
And they possibly, you never know, they may had not many or none when they were going through puberty, right? You know how
that's right.
Back, and I've seen my girls, you know, that some of them, you know, some people are bedridden with incredible cramps and pains or irregular cycles, and other girls just pop into monthly cycles and kind of go, what's the deal? You know, you know. And so with that means that obviously we are all designed differently, and it's not fair. It's not fair for the ones who suffer at one end and the other end. But that's right. You know, you suddenly get to some women that you'll meet and go, oh yeah, I went through menopause. It wasn't a big deal. And others go, oh my God, I nearly died and someone needed to cart me away, because, you know, that's right. The experience is so unique, right?
It's so unique. Yeah.
I had no idea, for example, that I'm just in that peri phase and I've had a few of the flushes. But the incredible heavy periods, like you suddenly you go from a normal cycle to, you know, 2 days of, I'd walk around going, I think I'm hemorrhaging. I think something is wrong. I need iron tablets or something, pick me off the ground. And then suddenly it's all over, you know, then suddenly, oh gosh, that was a quick period, you know. And then I'm like going, I'm like, my initial thought, like you started this time, was, is there something wrong with me? You know, because I hadn't actually processed, even though I'm 53, you know, and then I've got other friends going, oh my God, haven't you gone through menopause yet? That started for me at 47, you know, and it wasn't until I started saying, hey, has this happened to you? And they'll go, oh, yes or no, or, you know, so the breadth of experience and is this normal, or thinking no one else is talking about it, it must be abnormal, is such a weird space to be in, isn't it? Right?
It is. And for me, one of the big reasons I want to talk about it is I don't want my daughters to go through what I went through and what a lot of other women are going through. That shouldn't be the case. This should be common knowledge that at some point, even for our husbands, you know, like my husband, he said he sat down a few times and he wrote out a list of pros and cons of staying with me because I was not the woman he was married to.
Wow.
That, then you can deal with it. You know, I had another friend of mine I interviewed her a few months ago on my podcast, and she said she was a lot more aware than me. So she sat her family down and said, look, I'm going into my menopause. I can feel it coming on. It's like premenstrual tension on like 100-fold. So if I get up in the morning and I recognize the fact that I'm feeling really awful, I'm just going to walk out, and my code word will be, I am not fit for human consumption today. And you will know to just ignore everything I say, because it's not me talking, it's the hormones. So it just takes the significance out of it, you know. They could all just go, oh, yeah, that's just mum.
Mum's having a day, right?
Mum's having a day.
My husband asked me that the other day. He goes, what's the word? And the word better not be menopause, or you might hit me over the head.
Yeah.
Word, Fred or something. I don't know, but it's almost like that. It's like, let's just address the situation, and once we know what it is and what the potential ramifications can be, then it's kind of like going, oh, okay, it's like any kids, you know, like we've got, you know, one of my sons, for example, has Asperger's, and sometimes he does some really random things, and you just go, and then we got to the stage of going, it's not his fault, it's not a problem really, it's actually just, that's an Asperger thing. It's like, don't even try to process it. It's just one of those moments, right? And so in a way, you're actually doing the same thing. You're actually going, yeah, it's just, it is just the menopause, but rather than, you know, however way you want to communicate that, that's right. This is because of a reason. It's not because of you, right?
That's absolutely it. Yeah.
The hard thing when you start thinking, and I'd love you to share more about that, of how you actually, you know, what well you went into, so other women will relate if they're in that space, that you start thinking it's you. Because if no one else is talking about it, then it must be me. And if my doctor has gone and said, gee, you need antidepressants, that almost brings it even more to you that it must be you. Because if it was normal, surely there'd be a normal response.
Yeah, totally. And I had a psychologist counselor for probably most of 2 years. Just for once was it picked up that, do you realize that this is normal for menopause? Nobody ever said that to me. If somebody had just said, you know, you're going to feel depressed, and one of the reasons that you're going to feel depressed, quite apart from the hormones, one of the big impact side effects of menopause is we quite often don't get any deep sleep. Because of the hot flashes and everything, and you've got adrenal glands surging all the time, your brain doesn't go into deep sleep. And deep sleep is where your brain actually gets rid of all the toxins. So if your brain's not getting rid of all the toxins, and you wake up, we've all woken up those mornings where we feel fuzzy-headed and we feel like we're wading through mud. That is literally because that's what your brain's full of, because it hasn't got rid of those toxins yet. If somebody says to you, if you know that there is nothing wrong with you, it's, you know, the depression, the anxiety, you can, because a part of me was going, what am I doing? What is going on? Why am I thinking this way? And the other part of me was just hell-bent, like a teenager, hell-bent on self-destruct, destroying everybody's lives around me and whatever else. And it was all just this, it really is being like a teenager as a grown-up, with lots more experience of how to really cause chaos, like so much more dangerous. But again, if we know, you know, if you don't get any deep sleep, you're going to feel like hell. You're not going to make any sense. You can't make proper decisions. You're not going to be able to recognize when you're acting out and really do anything about it. Your periods could be appallingly heavy, to the point where you can't get up out of a chair without having to go and change your clothes. I mean, you've probably experienced that as well. And going to the doctors, again, I went to the doctors and I had all these scans, internal and external, to try and figure out what was going wrong with me. My sister-in-law, she went in and had, what do they call it, where they clean you out? Is it a D&C? Where they, whatever that, she's just proposal, you know? But nobody, it's like the medical profession don't connect the dots. And I think that's why we as women, when we start feeling bizarre as anything and going, oh, what's wrong with me? Could be from, my mum was 42 when she started with perimenopause. You know, I didn't start till I was late 40s, same as you, I was late 40s. But it can go on for a long time. But it's that knowledge, forewarned is forearmed. Oh, okay, right. Oh, look at that. Yesterday I was a completely obnoxious cow. okay, let's have a think about this. I need to sort this out, and just because then there's a freedom of being. You're not making it wrong. You're not constantly going, oh my God, I've got to do better. Oh my God, I can't be like that. If you can just go, oh my God, I'm going to be like that. Okay, how can I manage it?
Yeah.
That's so much more powerful a space to come from, rather than, being on antidepressants for several years and, uprooting the family, the entire family twice, because I just wanted to get away from everything, basically.
Oh my goodness, you do have a long-suffering family, Karen.
I know. I'm so fortunate. They're so great.
You sound like you scored with them, though. So let's start talking about what the positives. What can people do? Once you have this awareness and just go, okay, if this is happening to you and these symptoms are changing, they're normal, you're in perimenopause, or until you've actually stopped your cycles and realizing those symptoms can continue on. What can you do to actually, make it smoother journey, look after yourself more in that time? How can other people support you?
Honest to God, it's just talking, having the conversations. It really is getting together with other women, but also with the men in your life and your whole family, and just being that this is normal. There's nothing wrong. This is just normal. And once that is the missing factor, this is our society. I'm going to go into the negatives a bit here before I go into the positives. But Western society, we've placed such value on youthfulness that we've forgotten that in a lot of cultures, a woman going through menopause is as significant as puberty, because the American Indians and a lot of the Pacific Island countries, they view when a woman is menstruating, she is giving her energy on every single level to creating and raising children. When she stops menstruating, she then retains her wisdom. And at that point, she can give her wisdom to the community as a whole, and she can give her energy to the community as a whole. So in their cultures, the woman becomes far more valuable to the community and society, because she becomes the wise woman. That's where wise woman comes from. She's retaining her wisdom. And it's why it's always an old woman, because she's postmenopausal. And so that transition is, instead of because of that, I think, is why menopause is seen so negatively in our society, because, being really blunt, menopause is seen as being the end of a woman's useful life.
Yeah.
It's like the underlying insinuation is just go over there, sit in a corner, look after the grandkids if you're called on to do so, but just stay over there till you die.
You've gone to nana mode. Yes.
Go into nana mode, right? Look at the clothes. Like, look at the clothes that are available for older women. It's like, seriously. So
I know.
It's just, and we need to be celebrating this and celebrating the fact that we've done our business for the family, we've raised our kids, or even if you haven't got kids, we've done that bit. We are actually now in a different capacity and availability, and we need to actually celebrate that, because we become so powerful. It's like, the typical old lady who couldn't give two hoots what anybody thinks. That's menopause, right? Yeah. You get to a certain age and you're just like, you can think whatever you like. I'm over here doing my thing.
I don't care.
No, I don't care. No. And that's so much more powerful than, before that, where we worried about what everybody thinks. Let's celebrate that.
I absolutely love it. And I love the way you say, let's celebrate it. And I'm all into that. Now that's right. Post 50, I've suddenly said all those positives that I say to my kids, because the kids go and say, oh, now mum's got no filter. Because I know this thing happened to me, and it's almost like, I don't care. If someone else doesn't like it, I don't need them to love me. I'm not everyone's cup of tea, and I'm fine with that. I used to worry about it, or, that's right. Oh my gosh, I actually do know my skills and my values and my awesome qualities. And I also know what I'm not so great at, and I'm really happy to outsource them because they just weigh me down, and so you get to this stage of enlightenment, which is the wise woman, right? Which actually, and then you do become more powerful. And I know, for us women in coaching, we've become more successful because we are these wise realize, women, because we don't worry about those things that we worried in our 20s, 30s, 40s, because we had those learnings, because we've actually experienced them, not just read about them. We've experienced it and we know its truth, and we've also networked, and we know not just our experience, but the breadth of experience in those areas. And there is real power for that, with actually being able to share, and, not just from ourselves, but from our learnings are huge, and they shouldn't be undervalued. It's great to be talking to you and wanting to, yeah, that's right, ladies, let's start chatting about this stuff more. Because I remember when I went to the doctor a couple of years ago, I think it was 2 years ago, when I suddenly I thought I had a flush. I went, oh, this must be it. And because all my hiking buddies were talking about it and laughing that I hadn't experienced it yet. And then my experience was, I went there and she goes, so do you want to go on the treatment so it all goes away? And I went, oh, no, what do I have to go on something? Isn't it a natural process? And she said, well, you could see it that way, or I can just give you something to make it all go away. So which was probably HRT or whatever. But I was just so stunned and I kind of went, oh, I don't know. And then I came home with this thought of, which I hadn't really unpacked now that I'm talking to you. I'm actually like, well, do I want to just take a tablet and make it go away? But isn't it also happening for a reason? And what is, so yes, I don't want to experience real pain or suffering, but I also think it's for a reason. And how do I go through that, naturally, as naturally as possible? So I'd love to have your thoughts on that, because I didn't go back to her, obviously. I just went, oh, wow, I'll wait till I need to.
Isn't it interesting that it's viewed as something negative?
Yes.
What if it's not negative? Because, as you start going through, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am not against HRT. I definitely think there is a time and a place for it. What I'm against is that there's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. Like you were quite right in your thing. Well, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just wondering what the hell's going on.
I just wonder why I had a flush.
Yeah, that's it. It's like that. And so just being able to talk to people and go, there's nothing wrong. You might experience X, Y, Z, A, B, C. And if you're really unlucky, you're going to get E and F as well, but you might not. And it is just natural. And on the other side of it, you'll turn into one of those women who really couldn't give a shit about anybody else. And it's so much more freeing, and you really don't care. And that is when your potential comes through, I think, because while you've got all the barriers in the way, your potential's being held back because you're worried about what somebody's going to say. Are you going to tread on their toes? Are they going to get upset with you? Or, oh, what if she kicks me out of her group? Like, I really don't care. So nice. But the other thing that, before I kind of realized all this was going on, when I first started blogging about 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, this is ridiculous. If I wanted to get back, so I'm a quantity surveyor by profession, which is my side of quantity surveying is financial management and building projects. So I work on site and I organise the money on site, pay everybody and everything. If I wanted to do that now, I'd have to go back and do my studies again. And I'd start at the bottom of the ladder, and there'd be some, I hate to say this, spotty 20-odd-year-old who would be trying to tell me what to do. It's not going to go well. I've raised 4 kids. I could probably organise an army in my sleep.
Exactly.
And those skills that we've gained by our time of life that we count for nothing because we can literally do them in our sleep. We could run companies, whether we've got any experience in that or not. We could walk into any office, any of us that's raised kids or any woman that's got to our age, we could walk into an office, we could see what was going on, or a shop or whatever, and we could start organising it properly. And those skills, because we haven't done that in the workforce and worked our way up this corporate ladder or whatever, they counted for nothing, not a thing. You try and organise a family and everything else and I keep talking about, kids and everything because that's my background. So I'm not putting anybody down that hasn't raised kids. That's just my background. So that's what I can relate to. But you get kids organised, your household organised, make sure everybody's happy, do all the school runs, the after school activities, the parties, everything else. We are so good at organising, frugality, money management, discipline. We're so good at responsibility and teaching people and passing on knowledge and everything. Counts for nothing because we haven't done it in the traditional workforce. And that's something that has to change. And we can only change it ourselves. We're the ones that have to change it by actually acknowledging that that is a skill that we have and giving ourselves credit for that. And this is one of the reasons why when I started the podcast, a lot of it was about sharing women's stories, because we've all got the most amazing story to share. We've all done the most amazing things, but because they happen to us, we go, oh, well, yeah, I just dealt with it. It's not that good, But when somebody else hears it, somebody else is like, whoa, how did you manage? Yes. Exactly. And so it's about appreciating ourselves. And that's the big positive that I get out. Well, like, I've got the best job in the world right now, I've got to say, because I talk to all these amazing women all around the world and I have the best time. Oh. And it's so great just hearing and having other women, because I get most of the time it's women on my podcast, not me on other people's podcasts, but just creating a space for people where they can get who they are and what they've done is just phenomenal. Like, I love it.
I know, you and I are both tripping. I go, what do I get to do? Just talk to people all over the world, and everyone's really interesting, because totally exactly what you said, that everyone has a story. And amazingly, women undervalue, their own story, their own journey, or the skills and learnings that they've learned along the way. That's right. They're kind of going, because of this world of, oh, there's always someone better or someone amazing, and I'll even have that people coming onto my program here. Am I successful enough? Am I, like, how do I compare to other people? And I go, I don't care. What is success to you? What does it mean to you? What does it feel like to you? Everyone's got their own balance and their own journey. So, like, it doesn't matter. And I think that's where the real strength of women moving forward will come from, to actually appreciate their value and their self-worth and what they give and what they're capable of, right? I mean, I was like you, Karen. I remember going to some interview and, because I am CEO of a company and on a couple of boards and things. So I've done the laddered thing as well. But I went to an interview and they asked me something about, what were my skills in management of, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I just had a giggle to myself going, well, compared to raising, because I had 4 kids in 2 years with my 2 sets of twins. And I went, well, compared to my motherhood journey of those first 10 years, to be honest, everything else is really easy. And then I had to actually realize I was in an interview. So I had to then go, oh, but they want to hear this and this and this, right? But to be honest, exactly it. My day-to-day job is not that hard compared to all those logistics. Like for me back in the day, getting, 5 kids, including 4 who were like a little gang, in and out of the car and in and out of their parties and off to soccer and ballet and picking up and multi-schedules, and talk about color-coded clipboards of it's like, oh my gosh. And then, that's right. And finding out the note that's full of a soggy banana at the bottom of the school bag and trying to decipher what it is. Thankfully, mine were twins. So his twin sister always had the pristine one. But the twin boys at the beginning, you never know what you're going to get. But, it's crazy stuff. And you just go, yeah, that's right. The multitasking, or even if you haven't had kids and you've then gone and filled your life of all these other amazing things, you could have then put it into, incredible hobbies or sport or, volunteering, philanthropy, aid projects, whatever it is that makes us fill our time, because we've got 24, we've all got our own 24 hours in a day. Those things are so valuable, in our learnings, and those that we've met, and those, that things that we've learned along the way that are super valuable to people who are coming through now, this younger generation. So
yes, so much so. And it's like, we've got to get away from this. Well, the only experience counts is the experience you got at work. It's like, well, that's really dumb. That's really narrow-minded. Like, seriously.
I know, right? It's like, gosh, imagine that's right. When you're on your deathbed and go, oh, well, I'm glad my work was amazing. You're just like going, what the? That is mental, right? You want to
Yeah.
be one of those people. I want to be at my, 70th birthday party going, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that I've had such a broad life, that I did love my work and my career, but that was a part. And then I've also loved all these other things. And not just for me, I've loved the people that have been brought into my world because of that I equally value, right? So it allows space for gratitude and appreciation and broadening, yourself. So it's a funny world, isn't it? That's right. If the whole value of success is career, title, and beauty and youthfulness, it's a very short life then, isn't it? And all the
It
rest.
is a very short life. It's also a very misogynistic life as well, because if the true thing is you're a young woman who's working, because once you leave work and you start staying at home to have kids, or the majority of your focus goes into your kids, then you've lost your value.
Yeah.
And that's where it all starts, So it's still not, it is so misogynistic, and that's what we've really got to move beyond, because it becomes, we take that on board. Well, I've been at home for 10 years taking care of the kids. Obviously, that time is just wasted. That's what we think.
That's the language that people have. And I coach women who are doing that. They'll be at one stage going, I can't leave work and I can't have my kids till late 30s because once I do, I'll lose my opportunities. So it's seen as a waste or a negative. Or if they've had that time off, then they'll go, oh, I don't know if I'd be able to get back on the wagon or compete or, be qualified or capable. And it's seen as, because, whereas, oh my gosh, if you're having children, you're having them for a reason, and they like your joy, hopefully, and all the experiences and the honor that it is to raise these young humans. And so, it's just we've got to have more of these conversations just to bring back the focus of what's life really about, and what's celebrating the true value of what you love.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. And so there's a massive positive, and we've just got to be able to see it. Like, there is a massive positive to going through menopause. The big one is that you don't have periods anymore.
Yay. Looking forward to that.
Because like you, I ended up having to use maternity pads all the time. That was all I could do. A friend of mine had to put towels on her bed when she went to bed at night, because she'd wake up and she'd just be like, lying in a pool of blood. So that's the big positive for me. But the other big positive is that we start becoming more accepting of who we are and who we're not. So it's like, okay, one of the things that made the biggest difference for me, that was what I was trying to say. See, menopause brain, swear to God, you can't remember words. But one of the things that made the biggest difference for me was the saying that the universe only made one of you for a reason. It wants to experience your unique perspective. And I went, oh, really? And that really got me through the dark days. So there's only one of me, and I'm actually okay. And as I've gone on and got less hormonal, it's like, okay, I can see that now. So, I am the way I am and the way I'm not for a reason. And it's okay that I'm really rubbish at certain things, tact and diplomacy being one of them. My whole life, I've never been tactful at all, and it's got even worse now. I've gone through
like
menopause.
A sledgehammer.
Hammer, that's not one of my skills. It's just not one of my skills. I can't do quietly anything. I can't do tone your voice down. That's just not me. I can't do that. I'm no good. I can do maths. I can't remember formula. I've not got a lot of patience. I never have had. And so now it's becoming okay for me to be that way. It's because there's other things that I'm really good at, I'm really good at organizing things. I'm really good at figuring people out. I'm really good at holding a space for people to talk into. That's not necessarily skills that translate onto a CV or a resume, but they're the skills that I've been given. So it's time for me to acknowledge those and stop fretting about what I haven't got,
Yeah.
and just see what comes out of it. And the minute I did, I started podcasting, and it's just been like, have the best time now.
Exactly. I'm all about going with your strengths for sure. It's exhausting work. Just
I know, right?
weaknesses. It's like, yeah, that's right. Dabble with them occasionally, but don't worry about it. Just go with your strengths, right?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what does success look like for you? What does it feel like for you at this stage of your life? If you went and said, yeah, I feel pretty successful, what does that mean?
I think for me, it's about being okay with who you are. That it's literally as simple as that, because what I've found in the last 2 years in particular is 12 months even, the more okay I am with who I am and the things that I do, because I can really cause chaos if somebody irritates me, which they did recently, and I'm still going, oh God, I didn't do that, did I? But at the same time, I'm going, you deserved every single bit of that.
Or you're a little bit wicked.
Harry. It's pretty wicked. It's just like it's that mummy thing, where you go, if you carry on, there's going to be a consequence.
I will bite.
I'm warning you. And then third time, 3 strikes and you're out, my boy. You know that one. People get fair warning, and there's a line in the sand. And I'm actually becoming okay with drawing the line in the sand. And that, to me, is actually success.
Yeah.
In going, do you know what? That's not okay with me. I can get into your world and I can understand why you did that. I can understand everything behind it. And I'm also okay with going, that's not okay with me.
Yeah.
And telling you that that's not okay with me. And not because before I would have got into their world and I would have been very understanding and transformed about the whole thing. But I'd have been left feeling like I wasn't being true to myself. Yeah. So success to me really is being okay with who I am. Because the money also flows out of that as well. I've got to say, the more okay with who you are, that wasn't a very good sentence, but the more okay with who you are, the more money flows into you and the easier life flows. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I don't agree with, just go with the flow and everything will be fine. No, it won't.
But you're in your zone. You're in your authentic self. And with that will come an attraction for the things that matter, right?
Yeah. So that to me is the real measure of success. I've tried chasing the money. It never works for me. I've got to do what feels right to me and then everything follows. So that's success for me.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that answer. And I've loved having our chat today. It's been really, really interesting. And I'm sure so many ladies listening in are suddenly thinking, that's right. If I've been feeling a little bit, my cycles have started changing, or wow, I know what that rash is, or, sometimes I feel a bit fuzzy, or why is my sleep changing? Or, do I just feel, just apathetic or sluggish, or, did I know that exercise is actually really important and it does have a big effect? All these types of conversations, I want women out there, by interviewing you today, to actually be sitting there going, yeah, I'm not alone. This is actually normal. Like puberty is normal. And there's such, now I have to look back and go, yeah, that's right. I had a different journey than my girlfriends. And so the same will be happening now, that we are all made differently and uniquely. And some lucky ladies just sail through, and others have quite the journey, but it is normal. And yes, definitely go and get medical help if it gets too much, but wait till you sort of think, am I coping with it? And is a lot of it's an awareness and an understanding of what is happening and why, and then go, okay, considering that, how much am I comfortably able to manage? And if you're not, definitely go and seek help, because there are support systems there for you and medications and all of that. And some people do need that, but also others, it's like, let's just have these conversations as women. Let's really support each other and go, that's happening to me. And it's not embarrassing. I'm not embarrassed sharing on a global podcast that I'm in perimenopause, and sometimes, disasters are happening down there. And that's it. Now that you've mentioned that today, I do get the itchy hair and things like that, going, oh my gosh, like now the light bulbs come on. And that's a great thing when you suddenly think it's not just me. me, because you go, what is happening with me? Why is
Yeah.
it? And automatically, if no one else has said anything, you think it must be me. And then that's really depressing, because then it makes you go, well, why am I like this? No one else seems to be like that. That's because we're living in a fake world, guys. And this is all about being real woman, real life. Real hormones do happen. And so It's been really refreshing chatting to you and actually having a conversation like this that I think will be really encouraging to women. So if those women who are experiencing that and would love to chat more, how do they reach out to you, Karen?
So I have a Facebook page and a Facebook group, so they can reach me on that. So it's called Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood. So if you put that into Facebook, that will come up. I also have a website which is called Middle-Aged Women's Stuff. And you can go on there, you can find the blogs, you can find all the podcasts, and then the podcast and YouTube is Menopause, Marriage and Motherhood as well. So there's all those places, but please reach out with me. I have a fantastic group that I started just so we can talk about stuff like this. And the ladies in there are amazing. So it's because I think when you were talking just then, something that I remembered I hadn't said, if I'd have known that there was nothing wrong, then I wouldn't have felt that I'd needed antidepressants, or I might have done, but it would have been a choice. I didn't feel like I had a choice. I felt that there was something so wrong with me that I had to go on antidepressants. But if you're just talking about, if I talk to somebody and not been in the space of, oh my God, there's something wrong, there's something wrong, there's something wrong, it would have been a completely different experience. And that's what we want to move beyond, which I think has been the whole conversation. We've got to move beyond that. There's something wrong. There's nothing wrong. It's actually really exciting as far as I'm concerned. It's so cool.
So if you want to have some really exciting conversations, and there'll be crackers of conversations, because women who join this group with you will also just be hilariously funny and authentic and real, and just get into a safe space to just share. You'll love it. Absolutely love it. And Karen, you're just a total delight and just the right person to be running that. So all of your details will be on my podcast platform. They'll also be on my YouTube channel. And I super encourage people to, reach out. Not you. My view is there's nothing wrong with anyone. You've just got to unpack what's happening for you, and then find out the solution. You don't need fixing. You actually just need awareness and navigating and finding people who relate to you, who can help you on your way and support you. Most of it's just support, as we know. And you might as well have a bit of fun while you're getting supported, particularly if you're feeling a bit low at the moment. So go and reach out to Karen, join her Facebook group, and that's right. Let's journey through this time of life, with awareness and a bit of humor. And awesome. I reckon that learning for me of the day is celebrate our wisdom, right? I love it. I'm embracing that. I've just changed my title to the Transformation Queen. And the kids go, well, how did you become queen? And I said, well, I have been calling my daughters princess their entire life. So obviously I'm the queen. Duh, exactly. And now I've even got more ammunition, because Karen O'Connor told me that, I'm now a woman of wisdom. I mean, I've
wisdom. Yes.
Got that moment. So anyway, delight to have you on my show today. All the best for you.
Thank you so much.
Success. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Annie. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes, and of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.